Easter, day one, with 4 days of madness. 4 days of madness. We're going to take a moment where we've actually got no rain whatsoever. We can actually sit back and relax for the moment, I should say. And we're going to do a little bit of a tour of Italy. Forza Italia, okay? My name is Dan Sims. I'll be your hostess, be the mostess for today. We will be doing a tour, but this is, when we're talking about Italian wine, we're focusing mainly on the northern part of Italy. This is not to say that there's nothing wrong with the south. Depends on who you ask. The northerners tend to think that Italy starts from Rome north, but we won't talk about that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a whole range of different wines from Italy, okay? This is going to be a snapshot. We're going to attempt the impossible of explaining Italian wine in 30 minutes. Has anyone been to Italy? Italy is without doubt one of the most amazing, beautiful, frustrating, enlightening, exciting countries in the world. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you? It's true. There's this one thing about, before we start, and this is when you're learning about Italian wine, the first thing you have to remember is that you will never learn everything. It's impossible. There are so many different grape varieties, so many different regions. I'm sure Italians don't even know what they all are. So once you sort of relax and admit that it's never going to be the same way, then it makes it a lot easier. But what we've got 3 whites, we've got 4 reds, but I think there's a really representative of the different styles that we actually have in Italy. Now this is going to be pretty quick fire, so bear with us. So we're going to be pretty fast, okay? So I want you to have a taste of the first wine. Now I'm assuming that because we're all here, we all know how to taste wine properly. I'm assuming you know how to drink wine. It's very simple, raise glass to mouth, drink, swallow. Simple. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start off in the northern part, okay, in an area called Friuli. Okay, so in the northeast of Italy. As I'm sure you've seen, Italy is shaped like a boot. It's wonderful. We are in the northern parts. And we're looking at the first wine, which is a Pinot Grigio. Now, when it comes to white wine, or an Italian grape variety, Pinot Grigio really is a great example. It's a great starting point. Okay, so have a bit of a taste of the first wine and see what you think. Now, one thing, before we're not going to get too technical in half an hour, but I want you to focus on one thing, and that's style. Italy is all about style. Let's face it, they're always well dressed. They've got fabulous shoes. Italians have fabulous shoes, they can't help it. But when we're talking about style with wine, I want you to remember 3 things here. I want you to think about light, medium, and full. Okay? Light, medium, and full. And that's something we're going to be talking a lot about in the next few days, and that's all about style. We're going to talk about it in the Shiraz session, what we're talking about in the French session, all about style. Okay, so have a taste of that wine and think about what sort of style it is. Think if it's light or if it's a heavy wine. But for me, Pinot Grigio should be a really fresh, vibrant, crunchy, dry white wine. Think about it sitting in a piazza, having some lovely antipasto, and sitting up nice and crisp and clean. And this particular wine, Marco Beluga from Collio, I mean, when we're talking about Pinot Grigio, really, so Friuli is really, I think, produces some of the most high-quality examples of Pinot Grigio in Italy. It's grown practically everywhere, mainly in the north, but we're talking Pinot Grigio, it's nice, light and crisp. Does anyone like that wine? Put your hand up if you like that wine. I'm going to pick on people here, especially the Australians. Did you like it? Yes? What did you like about it? Not too much fruit, crisp, absolutely perfect. You've just nailed something which is a real characteristic you'll see with a lot of these Italian wines, is we tend to talk more about savoury characters, especially with a lot of Italian white wines. When I say wine, say from the New World, or think about, say, whether that's be Australia, New Zealand, or Chile and Argentina, they tend to be quite fruit forward. A lot of sort of wines, especially from Italy, tend to have a lovely savoury edge to them. They're dry, they're crisp and clean, and they crave food. I like that glass of wine because it makes me want to have more of it. Do you know what I mean? It's refreshing, and wine should be refreshing. Now, have a look over to the next wine. Have a taste of this one and see if you think this is a lighter style or slightly heavier version of the first one. actually. What do you think? Do you think that's lighter, or I think it's a little bit richer? Is it a bit richer? It is a bit richer, isn't it? Absolutely. And this is a number of reasons. Here we're actually heading a little bit further west. We're heading to Verona, but right near towards Lake Garda. Okay, and this is a wonderful mix of different grape varieties. One grape variety in particular is called Garganega, which is probably one of the most daggiest grape variety names you could ever think of. Garganega. Imagine when they were handing out grape variety names and you got Garganega. You'd be upset by that. Personally, I would. But it's also got, now I've actually double checked this, it's got Trebbiano di Toscano, Cortese, Tokai, Chardonnay Riesling, Malvasia, and in Crocchio Manzone. Another tip with discussing Italian wines, if you are struggling to pronounce it, use your hands. It's very important. So if you say that, we're using your hands, it sounds a lot more Italian. Now, here this wine is looking a real classic white blend, and you're looking at a little bit more richness and a little bit more weight, a little more texture. It's still got lovely fresh acidity and cleansing characters, but it's not as dry as, say, the first wine. And here we're talking about, again, that sort of light meaning. Did you actually have any? It's terrible. I'll fix that. There we go. And it's a little bit richer. And here we're starting to think about sort of food styles. You're talking about the Pinot Grigio being really lovely, light and dry and crisp, whereas this one's got a bit more textured element to it. And again, you're starting to think about different types of foods. You know, having that extra weight will actually handle foods that have got a little bit more flavour and character to them. I like that wine. I like that wine. Do you like that wine? Not sure? Pondering? You notice people start participating more in masterclasses the more wines they taste. Well, there's no spittoons here, so we don't encourage that. Enjoy your wines in moderation. Enthusiastic moderation. Okay. Now, we're going to turn to the third wine. I told you it's going to be quick, pretty fast-paced. The next wine is one of my favourite producers, Vietti. We're heading over to Piedmont, okay? So we've started off in Friuli, which is in the northeast. We've sort of headed a little bit towards Verona, heading further centre. Now we're heading to the beautiful region of Piedmont, which honestly, it is stunning. It's the gastronomic heart of Italy. And this producer, Vietti, really was one of the people who actually saved this grape variety Arnase. Now, and again, have a bit of a taste of this wine. I want you to think about sort of fruit characters and descriptors with it, especially in comparison to the other two. Oops. That was just not white. I never heard white to a wine taste. Right? I'll top that up. Maybe. Okay. Have a taste of that wine and see what you think. Do you think that's got more in common with that second wine or the first wine? Just think about that when you taste it. And Arnase is a grape variety, I said, it really was almost going to extinction a number of years ago, and only we're starting to see a lot more of it in the last, say, 20 odd years. And for me, Arnase always has this really lovely, crunchy, kind of green apple character to it, or pear, like slightly pear drop, you know, that apple and pear character. It's fresh, it needs to be fresh. But for me, it kind of reminds me, when I taste that wine, a little bit of the Pinot Grigio in some respects. But it's got a little bit more floral character, almost sort of white flowers type element to it. But it's still got lovely fresh acidity. Again, you know, you're looking at a wine that sort of, you want to be something that's bright, fresh and clean rather than heavy. And that's what I like with white wines, especially in this sort of climate where you're talking about it's quite warm and rich. You want something that's refreshing. It's good. I like that. Do you like that a lot? Did you have a favourite wine in those three whites? If the first wine was your favourite white wine, put your hand up. First one, yeah. If the second white was your favourite, put your hand up. And the third? There you go. Fantastic. See? the thing about that, which I love about, this is what we're talking about, wine styles, and what we hope to do with these masterclasses is to give you a little snapshot to encourage you to, when you go out there and taste all the other wines, to understand an element of style. You've got very much a lighter style, medium to full flavoured white, and again, a nice light, crisp, crunchy style of anise, which you have there. Now, staying in Piedmont, why not? It's beautiful this time of year. And I do recommend, if you're very nice, they might actually have some truffle honey over there, which is from Piedmont, and it's absolutely beautiful with the Gorgonzola, but don't tell them I said that. Okay, now, the next wine we're going to have is from Breda and a Barbera. When we talk about Barbera from Italy, really, Breda was the one that put this grape variety back on the map. There's three main red grape varieties in Piedmont. You're talking about Dolcetto, Barbera, and Nebbiolo. Barbera is sitting in the middle. Dolcetto, the wine you drink while you're waiting for your Barbera, and the Barbera you drink while you're waiting for your Nebbiolo. And we're going to try Nebbiolo a little bit later. But Barbera is a grape variety. Is, for me, lovely sort of darker fruit characters. Have a taste of this wine from Breda. These guys have really very much have pushed this style of grape variety, going for a super Barbera, a grape variety that, or a wine style that can be, to show the qualities of what the true potential of what Barbera can be. Now, I really like Barbera as a drink, and it goes when you think about, I mean, you look at the colour of that wine, with reds especially. These are really good tips. If you're struggling with descriptors with red wines, have a look at the colour and think about matching fruits to the colour of the wine. And if you look at that wine, it's very dark, it's really purpley, isn't it? Very purple in colour. You know, I think about those sort of darker plum type elements to it. Really lovely, got a savoury edge to it, but it's quite accessible, isn't it? And as a precursor, as a bit of a warning, as you start tasting some of these Italian wines, they're going to be quite dry. They crave food. For those who have been to Italy, if you go to an Enoteca or a wine bar or anything like that and you order a glass of wine, there's food in front of you within 30 seconds. Because the styles that they're based to really go, have a lovely savoury edge to it, they crave food. Especially lovely rich dishes that you would expect from Piedmont. So have you tried that wine? What do you think? Do you like it? Nodding? Yeah? Rich, isn't it? It's quite a powerful style. Fair bit of oak, but there's a good amount of fruit weight to go with it. So not too crazy, not too heavy. I like that. That's good. Okay. Tuscany. I mean, Tuscany really is a living postcard. Has anyone been to Tuscany? It's beautiful. Rolling hills, Vespers, Pappardelle con Cingale, Codolo Chianti. I mean, does it get any better than that? And it's a region that is steeped in history. You know, steeped in, you're talking about the Renaissance, you're talking about Florence and Siena, beautiful cities, and Chianti is situated just between the two of those cities. And Castello di Broglio, Barone Ricasole, is one of the oldest, is the oldest winery effectively in Italy. You know, established in the early 1100s. And actually, when we talk about the recipe for Chianti Classico, it was actually the Ricasole family that came up with it. It was the first time it was printed. Here we're talking about a grape variety called Sangiovese. Sangiovese is king. It is the grape variety of the centre of Tuscany. We're talking central Italy here. But also, for this wine, it's got a little bit of Cabernet and a little bit of Merlot, but only up to 20%. But for me, Sangiovese is a style and a grape variety. It is a wine that you could drink every day of the year. I know that sounds crazy. Actually, somebody said that to me once and I thought he was just an alcoholic. And then I thought about it and it made sense because Sangiovese is a grape variety. It's medium-bodied. It can go with a range of different foods. It's got lovely tannin, lovely acidity, and it's refreshing. Does everyone know what I mean when I talk about tannin? I'm talking about that really lovely sort of drying sensation. And tannin can be refreshing. And I'm saying that as a precursor to the next wine, which has got an enormous amount of tannin and an enormous amount of acidity. The Sangiovese has got that lovely fruit weight in between as well. So it's not too heavy. Again, we're talking around that sort of medium-bodied style. The Castello di Broglio is a beautiful estate. They do fantastic wines. They do olive oil. They've got a wonderful art museum there. It is stunning. They're right in the town of Gaiole, in the central heart of the classic Chianti region, being Chianti Classico. It's a lovely wine. Okay. Everyone try that? Yeah? It's all good? I like that. Now, we're going to head back to Piedmont. We're going to head back there. You would go there. If you were there as well, you'd go back to Piedmont because it really is stunning. I mean, this is the home of truffles. Has anyone had a Ferrero Rocher before? Hazelnuts. That is where hazelnuts come from. The special hazelnuts to go, which are grown in the Piedmont region. And we're going to GD Vira. Vira here as well. Again, a fabulous vineyard. We're talking about a grape variety here called Nebbiolo, and this is a Barolo. We're talking about the Barolo Alba. They say the Barolo is the king of wine and the wine of kings. It's a wine that ages incredibly well. And for those who love Pinot Noir, like I do, or love Burgundy, aged Nebbiolo does take on a few of that sort of Burgundian characters after a bit of age. But I'm warning you, it's very dry. So have a taste of that wine and give it a really good swirl around your mouth and see what you think. Nebbiolo is a very tough grape variety to taste when it's very young. Very hard, because it's got loads of tannin, loads of acidity. But this particular vineyard comes from really the heart, and it's a beautiful story. The Giuseppe De Vira family, they're very lovely. Giuseppe, who's actually coming here tomorrow, he's ridiculously handsome. He is ridiculously handsome and a very lovely guy. He'll be here tomorrow, come back, I'm sure probably about 11 o'clock. But they're very generous, and he talks about the reasoning behind they call it albes. This actually comes from parcels of fruit, Nebbiolo vineyards. And the reason I call it albe is that the sun actually hits these vineyards in succession. It's all about the sunrise. It's very poetic, it's very romantic. Does everyone taste that wine? Does everyone notice how dry it is? It's very dry, isn't it? It's very dry. That's why these wines are so incredibly long-lived. To get a little bit geeky for those who are Burgundy freaks amongst us, which I am, I honestly, when I'm learning about Piedmont and Barolo, I take that philosophy of vineyard and site and producer and transplant it when I think about Barolo. So we've got Barolo as a large region, there's different sub-regions and different vineyards. And there's a few actually from Vietti. I do encourage you to take the time and taste some of these wines as you go through. But they're very long-lived. They crave food. Looking at it in isolation like this is very, very difficult. Perhaps doesn't do the wine justice, but again, we're sort of talking a very savoury style. This isn't, if you look at it in comparison to, say, the Barbera, which is a lot more fruit-driven, to the Nebbiolo, very, very different styles of wine. Now, let's move on to the last wine. Here, we're popping back over to the Veneto, almost from where we started. We were talking about red wines. Sorry, let me give you a splash more. Good. We were talking about classic red wines from the northeast, from the Veneto. Valpolicella is a great classic area, and especially wine such as Amarone. Valpolicella is the area, or the Veneto is the area Valpolicella is the region. The grape varieties here, we're talking about 3 different types: Corvina, Rondinella, and Molinaro. Though Sperry, who's one of the top producers of the region, he's one of the top producers in the region, had a real focus on Corvina, which is the mainstay grape variety. And when we're talking about Amarone, basically what it means is they pick the grapes and they dry on mats beforehand. Why would they do that? Because it concentrates all the sugars. When a grape dehydrates, obviously it gets rid of all the water and you get the concentrated sugars. And then they ferment it slowly. But these wines are built for aging. These are not shy and retiring wines. These are wines, we use this wonderful term in Italy called vino di meditazione. Meditating wine. Wines you want to sit over and ponder, think about and enjoy over that period of time. Now, this isn't a wine that you would perhaps go out and have for lunch. Does anyone have a luncheon wine? Have you heard of that term before? Luncheon wines? For me, I love Chablis as a luncheon wine. It's a nice light dry white wine, or a Pinot as a luncheon wine. Because you could have maybe share a bottle of that wine and perhaps go back to work and be slightly productive. Maybe. This is not a luncheon wine. If you had shared a bottle of this over lunch, you would be having a nap for a number of hours. A number of hours. But Sperry is a producer, and Luca's coming down again. He's very handsome and charming as well. He's Italian, he's got great shoes, whatever. They're all charming. But these wines in particular, I honestly encourage you to have a bit of a taste through. And this is the top of the tree for this wine. I mean, this is 2009 vintage. But these wines age incredibly well. And as I said, Sperry's one of the top producers in the regions, and we're really talking a fuller, richer style of wine. And if you look at it again, all those reds that you've got there, we're talking about different styles, aren't we? Different characters, and you look in comparison to the Nebbiolo and the Amarone. I mean, if you just look at the colour of those two wines side by side, even though it's light in colour, it's quite full and strong in body. Whereas approachability, you're sort of looking at these two wines, aren't you? Looking at the Sangiovese or the Barbera. And I think the thing about Italy is that it's so diverse, so big, so confusing. Let's not even get stuck into wine laws in Italy. There's a great analogy which if anyone's been to Napoli in Italy, they talk about, the mayor of Napoli said once that they were talking about traffic, and he said green means go, avanti, avanti. Yellow, it's for fun, it's for frivolity. Red means stop, but it's only a suggestion. And that, for me, sums up Italian wine law. They're kind of suggestions, but it is the wines of Italy are incredibly exciting. And in the last 20 years, we're starting to see such great producers, and many of them here actually at the Wine Fiesta. So I encourage you to go around and taste some more of it. This is just a snapshot of what is actually out there. But when you do taste them, think about style. These wines are going to be savoury. Think about food. And I'm going to give you a tip when it comes to food and wine matching. It's actually a lot easier than you think. Now I talk about light, medium and full. Are you ready? I'm glad you're sitting down, because this will probably fool you. Lighter flavoured wines go better with lighter flavoured foods. I know. It gets better. Fuller flavoured wines go better with fuller flavoured foods. It's actually that simple. Yes, you can compare and contrast and get all geeky, but when you're starting out, especially in an area like Tuscany or so in Italy in general, think about the simplicity of it. Italian wines are always going to be savoury, they're always going to be a little bit drier when you say from France or especially Australia, and we're going to do a little Shiraz session next, and you'll see the diversity in terms of Australian Shiraz. It's a big country, Australia. I don't know if you've noticed that. But I encourage you to go out there, taste a whole bunch of wines. If you've got any questions, we'll be running around there, ask all these winemakers. That's the best thing about the Wine Fiestas. The people who actually make the wines are here. Ask them all the questions. Actually, does anyone have any questions while I'm here before we wrap up? Does anyone have a favourite red? Was there one red that was the favourite? Should we do a little pop quiz? If the first red was your favourite red wine, put your hand up. No? Second one, the Chianti. From Barone Ricasole. The Broglio, Castello di Broglio. It's beautiful actually. If you get a chance to go there, it's actually stunning. The favourite, the Nebbiolo is the favourite. One, great, excellent. Truffles and Nebbiolo are beautiful. And then the last wine, the Sperti Valpolicella, favourite wine. Oh, there's the flavour junkies, aren't you? Love it. The meditating wine. It's beautiful though, isn't it? It's a very rich, if you think about the cuisine from the Veneto can be actually quite rich. And that's what I love about travelling through Italy is the food and wine culture. You stand there, or you're sitting there having a meal and you can't figure out what came first. Was it the dish that they created to match the wine, or was the wine created to match the dish? Yes? So Barolo is the name of the region, okay, so it's the name of the wine, but Nebbiolo is the grape variety. So in Nebbiolo is King, so you've got Barbaresco and Barolo, but the grape variety is Nebbiolo. But again, we've got Barbera, which is there, which is the other one, and then Dolcetto. But Nebbiolo is the grape variety in there. It's a beautiful area. I encourage you to drink in moderation. Thank you for joining us.